Yes. I am so sorry I'm late. We'll call this meeting to order. For some reason, I thought we started at 8:10, but that is okay. I'm late. So let's see. We will go ahead and we can go around and say who's here first. I'm Holly Williams. I'm Chair, El Paso County Commissioner.
Kelly Case, Mayor of the City of Woodland Park.
Andy Gunning, PPACG, sorry.
Dave Donaldson, Colorado Springs City Council.
Todd Dixon, Mayor, Green Mountain Falls. Mitch LaKine, Mayor of Monument.
Sharon Thompson, Mayor ×2 of the City of Fountain.
Wysong County Commissioner, District 3.
Okay, and online we have Amy Mitchell, and with Park County, Brandy Williams with the City of Colorado Springs, Kimberly Gold with the City of Colorado Springs, and that is it. So we do have Laura Kronik, Mayor Pro Tem. No? Okay.
No, she's not an alternate and she's a council member.
Okay, council member. Sorry, I get those all mixed up. And I do know Commissioner Applegate's running a little late too. So first of all, item number 2 is agenda approval. I'll take a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll move to approve the agenda. Mayor Case.
Mayor Dixon, second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. We're starting our executive session pursuant to CRS 24-6-402, 4B, and F1, or I. The board in open session is to determine whether it will hold a closed executive session. The issues to be discussed involve personnel matters related to the annual evaluation of the executive director of the Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments. The chair shall poll the board members, and upon consent of 2/3 of the members present may hold a closed executive session. If consent to the executive session is not given, the item may be discussed in open session or withdrawn from consideration. So do I have a motion to go into executive session for the purposes of an evaluation?
Mayor Thompson, so moved.
Mayor Dixon, second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed? Okay, so closed executive session means that everybody who is not Jared is kicked out of the room, if I'm correct. Okay. These do have to be returned to me after the closed session, please.
Thank you.
Donaldson, Dennis Stern, John Graham, I believe, is online. Todd Dixon, Mayor Mitch LeKine, Mayor Thompson, Commissioner Weissong, Commissioner Applegate, Jeff Mosier with Cripple Creek. And then we have many staff present online. We have Commissioner Amy Mitchell, City Councilwoman Brandy Williams, Hannah Parsons, who is our Transportation Commissioner, Kimberly Gold, Councilwoman, Laura Cronick, Councilwoman, Councilmember Roland Rainey, and William Shaw, who is the Mayor of Calhan. All right. Rayma, sorry, there are 3 small towns out there, and one of them is a mayor. So we appreciate having him here. So with that, we will go to public comments. Public comments can be made during the meeting or by emailing some to the Microsoft Teams link. Jared, do we have any public comments via Teams? Are there any public comments in the room? Okay, wonderful. Letter B, we will have Jesse Duncan's 5-year anniversary. Come on up, Jesse Duncan.
Hey, good morning. So today I get the honor of recognizing Jesse Duncan, our IT service manager, who has been an integral part of our organization for the past 5 years. He is our IT service manager. Through this journey, Jesse has demonstrated resilience, dedication, and a passion for all. Over the past year alone, Jesse has achieved so much. He has successfully set up a help desk management system. He has created insightful user surveys, and he is a superstar with designing engaging videos and presentations. His contributions have significantly enhanced our operations. So Jesse, on behalf of PPACG, thank you for your last 5 years of service.
Thank you. Now y'all have to squish in for a picture. Look at Jared.
Can he not hide for another 5 years, Andy? Can he not hide for another 5 years? Can he not hide for another 5 years? I mean, I don't. That's right. Yeah.
All right, on our military installation reports, do we have anyone from our military online? It's kind of hard when you're not getting paid to show up at a PPACG meeting.
And Madam Chair, that is the case. We do not see anyone.
Okay,
If we were a day later, we might, but.
yes, well, we are so thankful for our military installations. So next month when they're here, we will make sure we tell them that for all of the hard work they've done protecting our country and keeping our bases running during this federal government shutdown. So thank you to them. Front Range Passenger Rail update, Lisa Gagnon. Is that how you say?
Hi everyone, Lisa Gagnon here, transit planner at PPACG. We have Sal Pace, the new elect general manager, not board, general manager from the Front Range Passenger Rail District here to give an update. Sal?
Okay, Sal, we're going to get testy after about 10 minutes, but we're excited to have you here. Can you push the speaker button? Yes. Thank you for being here.
Yep. Good morning, everybody. Sal Pace. I think the last time I was here was a Pueblo County Commissioner. And for those of you who I don't know or we haven't met before, I spent some time in the Colorado General Assembly and where I was a minority leader there, and then a term and a half as a Pueblo County Commissioner, and worked with a lot of you during that time. I am now the new general manager of Colorado's Front Range Passenger Rail District. This Pikes Peak Council of Government has 2 appointments. Currently, one is vacant, but I do have one of our board members here, Gail Stardavid, who I'm sure you all know from the city of Colorado Springs. And a little bit about the district. Some of this is repeat. for those who've been on this board for a minute. The district was created in 21. It was Senate Bill 238 and statutory direction to plan, finance, construct, and operate intercity passenger rail, empowered to bring a tax to the voters. We have a list of communities on the right that are likely to receive service in Front Range passenger rail service. This is what is being studied in what is called a service development plan, which is a term of art with the FRA. And you'll see the mention of special event stops. The Broncos last week revealed their plan for their new stadium at Burnham Yard, which was an old UP site, and mentioned 7 times in their plan a desire for a special event stop. So I have 2 meetings this week with the Broncos to continue to explore that. So in addition to these 13 stops that are studied on the service development plan, we're also exploring special event stops such as the Broncos and possibly the Renaissance Festival and the new pro women's soccer stadium. We recently released a turn of analysis report for the service development plan. The recommendation is to go with the sort of medium option, which is medium amount of frequency, 10 round trips, and 79 miles an hour. We could go up to 90 miles an hour. Surprisingly, that did not generate a lot of additional time savings because there's so many curves, et cetera, on the right-of-ways that Front Range passenger rail will be using. We plan on sharing right-of-way with the 2 Class 1 railroads, the Burlington Northern Railroad and the Union Pacific. I'm actually leaving from here to fly to Fort Worth for a day and a half of negotiations with Burlington Northern on what we're calling joint service, which is our starter service in collaboration with RTD headed up the Northwest alignment. So that'll be starter service that will happen with or without passage of a ballot measure. Colorado Springs participated in station area planning and development. The station area site selection was led by the city with local guidance with a committee of civic, business, and university reps. This is a few years old. The process began in 2021 with public outreach in 2022, and over 700 residents participated from the region. The final choice that was selected is a site just south of the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Museum near downtown, utilizing the existing pedestrian bridge over to America the Beautiful Park. We have a vision of participating with every single city that will have a station to help develop a station area plan over the next 6 months. That will include multimodal access, first mile, last mile connectivity with other forms of transportation, taking into account pedestrian, bicycle access, and connectivity with existing forms of transportation. Also, what can be done to tie in walkable housing with stations. We hope to sign an MOU with each of the communities, and that has a proposed station where we develop the station together, moving ahead if we go to the voters. Just an idea of travel times, and this looks sort of backwards to me because we're from the South. So this is going south from Fort Collins, but give you an idea of travel times. Denver Union Station, 6:32 a.m. should be arriving in Colorado Springs at 7:49. This is not a final timetable because there's still some negotiation with the Class 1 railroads over what's called recovery time. That's the amount of time that you put in as buffers to account for unforeseen circumstances. And that will add some time to that. Hopefully not a lot, but it also assures that travelers, customers can travel with a little more certainty with those, the recovery time, the buffer times included. Moving forward, I was hired with the expressed objective of trying to reach the ballot. We are undergoing a number of different activities. We are re-examining our district boundaries, which when the district was created was very broad and wide. And that was before we had a preferred route alignment. We now have a route alignment. To the north, it's primarily Burlington Northern right away. To the south, it's primarily Union Pacific. And so now that we have a route alignment, it makes sense to tighten those lines, and we'll be working with the General Assembly on that. We're working on a passenger and delivery plan, financial modeling, as well as stakeholder and community engagement as is required under our enabling legislation 238. And so we will be ramping up our outreach in the Pikes Peak area. And I expect us to be hosting town hall meetings and outreach, and possibly bringing someone on board to help coordinate the outreach so that we can receive all the input during this planning process, so that the Pikes Peak region can be well heard. It's an important part of our state, obviously. This sort of outlines what I just mentioned. With that, I'm happy to button it up. I think I came in under my allotted 7 minutes. And as someone who used to sit in your spot, I understand how important that is. So happy to take any questions, suggestions, recommendations.
Can you back up a slide, please?
Yep.
Can you back up one slide, please? There we go. Thank you.
Okay, does anyone have any questions?
What did you say the speed was on the rail itself?
Maximum speed of 79 miles an hour. That is the alternatives that we studied. We studied going up to 79, going up to 90. Believe it or not, going to 90 shaved off maybe 10 minutes on the trip because there's so many places you couldn't hit the maximum speed. But it added a lot of cost.
How long are they stopping at the stations to pick up?
2 minutes.
2 minutes? Oh, wow. Okay.
Pueblo and Fort Collins will be the anchor on either end. We have Trinidad on this slide. Trinidad is in the district, and Trinidad currently has a stop on the Southwest Chief Line, which is Chicago to Los Angeles, and part of our statutory responsibility is to complete the promises of the Southwest Chief Line. And so we will be working with Trinidad to explore a station for their Southwest Chief Line, but it will not be connected in the near term to the Front Range line.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I want to go to Council Member Rainey first, and then we'll do 2 people in the room, and then we'll go to Commissioner Mitchell. So go ahead.
Thank you very much. One of the questions I have, once again, this is Colorado Springs City Councilman Roland Rainey. The schedule that you had with all the different stops, has that been coordinated, or are you looking at coordinating with a variation of different bus stops also? There's a variation of buses from Mustang to Groove and others that go through some of these same locations. Is there going to be a way for those buses to potentially drop their passengers off at some of these different locations?
We are coordinating with Bustang and with CDOT regarding mobile hubs or mobility hubs with each of these stations. We're hoping that every one of these stations will be a mobility hub. What we are envisioning is that every station is a local version of Denver Union Station, something that can be a mobility hub, a commercial hub, an economic driver in each one of these communities, where the residents of Colorado Springs will see benefit to the station area plan over at the U.S. Olympic and the America the Beautiful Park, and that we will see lower transportation costs because we'll be bringing greater connectivity to all the various forms of transportation, and we will be decluttering Interstate I-25. So whether or not you are someone who would use the train to go to a Broncos game or not, we want to make sure that the entire community sees benefit from these station areas.
Thank you.
Mayor Stern.
So, do I understand that you're still working on the financial, the dollars necessary to accomplish this, that you don't have estimates for that aspect of all of this right now?
It's a bit of an iterative process. So we do have hard dollar amounts for all the capital costs that would need to happen. We have that from the Class 1 railroads. Some expenses could be considered the cherry on top. And I think what we need to go through and what we're going to do in the financial modeling piece, we know most of the costs at this point. It's trying to figure out what we think as a district is a amount of money that we would ask the voters for and what we want to include and not include. And so it could mean better amenities for certain stations or certain for the experience, or it could be diminished amenities, and whether or not it's worthwhile to weigh that balance of cost versus benefit.
So all that being said, no specific dollar amounts?
I mean, we have a lot of very specific dollar amounts about very specific aspects
That you're willing to share or state?
As far as the entire project, no, not at this moment. And we haven't decided what we would refer.
Thank you. Well, I'm not just asking what you're going to ask the voters for. I'm asking what the total cost is, regardless of what you're going to ask the voters for.
I think it's by 6 months from now, I'll have a hard number for you.
Okay, Mayor Thompson. And then I think Councilmember Donaldson and then Commissioner Wysong.
Okay. I have several questions, so feel free to cut me off and come back a second time if I ask too many. How's that? My first question is for the cities that this is not going to stop in, what changes are we going to have for our greenhouse gas emission expectations when our citizens are going to be sitting at intersections for an increased amount of time over the day? Because if our citizens are sitting there waiting for these trains to go through with probably not much benefit to them, and we're going to be held to the same standards as communities that don't have trains going through them, that's going to create an issue when we go to do capacity building projects.
The modeling actually shows that front range passenger rail decreases greenhouse gas emissions.
I understand that, but if you're going to monitor our particular cities for them, it could potentially be increasing it. And then what about the freight trains that stop on the tracks for up to an hour and love to block intersections and communities already? How are you going to deal with those in your times table? Because that is a regular occurrence in many of our communities.
Passenger rail has, under federal law, has priority on class 1 routes. We should be moving ahead of the freight trains, and they should be pulling over on the sidings. The sidings will not be, sidings are essentially passing lanes. They're not going to be in urban areas. They tend to be in between the urban areas.
I'm going to respectfully disagree with that. As someone who has freight trains pass through her community, I can't even count how many times a day. And when it's time for a break, they just park. And it's not necessarily on a siding that's a mile up the road. They park where they park when it's time for a break.
And they have gotten stuck blocking Palmer Lake and Monument at the same time due to the length of the train, where now you've got 2 municipalities that can't be accessed.
Yeah, I mean, those are class 1 railroad questions. These trains are going to be pretty short.
Councilmember Donaldson.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. And good morning. And a pretty straightforward question. You had a slide, and I believe it showed the number of passengers. Was that per train or per day?
I think if that's, I didn't know we had that slide in here. Oh, those would be daily numbers.
And so the daily number is on the selected one is looks like 990.
Oh, this one. Okay, yeah, no, this is 1.6 million. This slide
per day.
No, this is year round, annual.
Annually. So 1.6 million. That's the top of the bracket. How much does that come out to per day? Do you know? And I guess I can do the quick math
I mean,
right
we
here.
could do the math here pretty quick. But I think, the ridership projections, we didn't put that slide in to try to keep it quicker. But the ridership projections in Colorado Springs, I believe, is about 400, give or take, embarking and disembarking a day, roughly.
And is there a cost per rider that you view as that's too much? That's too expensive if it costs $10,000 per. Could you just talk a little bit about that?
That is, so we have, or the federal government in Colorado has studied doing a through car connecting Colorado Springs to the Southwest Chief Line. That's the route that goes from Lamar, La Junta, Trinidad, Chicago to Los Angeles, and doing a through car from La Junta to Pueblo up to Colorado Springs. It's essentially a car at the end of the train that you could detach, put on another engine. You wouldn't have to leave your car, go all the way to Colorado Springs, get off on a station or get back on, and then the car returns and gets back on that long distance train. It was determined that for the amount of riders that would use that, I think it was maybe 50 a day versus the overall cost. And I'm doing this from memory, but maybe 300 million, that it was determined that that was not a good cost benefit analysis in that example. Similarly, the reason we do not model out adding passenger service down to Trinidad from Pueblo to Trinidad is there's a lot of that track, that single track, and it would need a substantial amount of improvement versus the amount of users. So that was determined to be left off the service development plan because of the cost benefit analysis.
Okay, we did, my neighbor did the quick math on 1.6 million, and I believe it comes out to be about 4,400 a day passengers. With that lower amount, 990 on there, it's a little bit more than half, so maybe 2,500 passengers a day. And I do wonder about the expense to move 2,500 people, or 4,000. You know, the annual O&M is what, 87 million plus all the other expenses. Just how this breaks out at per rider expense. But I know you're looking at all that, so that's
Well,
my
and
only question.
yeah, well, you know what I can share with you, and we received last night the draft contract from BNSF for the joint service that'll be going from Denver up to Fort Collins. And the plan is to use a bunch of RTD's money that they had set aside for Northwest Rail that they never delivered on. And we're going to provide that service. And so we're wrapping up those negotiations with Burlington Northern. When we received their draft numbers last night, I'll be in Fort Worth tomorrow. And it was a lot lower than what the engineering industrial complex speculated. Our operating costs and our access costs were substantially lower than a lot of these numbers. And I mean, let's be honest, the engineers like to run up the numbers. Separately, I think our ridership numbers are going to be better than what the modeling projected. And the modeling is based on comparison with a number of other states with similar type of services. And I think there's a few distinctions. One is we're putting a lot of effort and time into developing the station area plans to try to bring the connectivity so that these stations aren't islands, in the middle of nowhere, but can help connect people to other forms of transportation. And the other thing is some of the special event and activities, such as, connecting to the Broncos, that I think will be a unique focus that we have in Colorado that don't traditionally see in other states.
Okay, Commissioner Weissong and then Mayor Shaw.
Yes, Commissioner Weissong, I've got a question. What is the projected ticket price or the percentage that a ticket price wouldn't exceed? So is it going to be 99% taxpayer state tax and minimal ridership ticket price, or somewhere in between?
So what we have modeled out is 20 cents per mile. And so traveling Colorado Springs to Denver, I think it'll come in probably about $15 or something along those lines. My math might be a little off there, but someone has a calculator. And so the intent of ticket prices is not to price people out, but also to provide some assurances where you can know if there's availability on the train, you can purchase tickets, and we can do it for planning purposes. There's been a lot of research on ticket pricing, and the more expensive you make it, the fewer people use a train. And so it's you hear a lot. Well, shouldn't tickets cover the cost of travel? And it's counterintuitive because you start charging a higher ticket price and fewer people use it. In reality, in the United States, there's very few railroads that make money, and even the freight railroads have received amazing federal subsidies and support, free land historically, in order to make them operate. Colorado was built by rail, and it's what brought people out to the West. And it's been a historical focus of the United States to support rail, both at the freight and passenger side. And so, this will take some this will take some cost. There was potentially substantial federal dollars available from the Infrastructure Act that passed a couple years ago. All those dollars are on hold right now.
Are you looking at putting express service in certain instances outside of the special events?
So Front Range Rail is what is called intercity rail. So it's different than what you have in Denver, which is a light rail. And so it's a different purpose, and that is to have fewer stops that go faster so that you can move people quicker along the route. And so I think sort of by its nature, it's intended to be express.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to go to actually Mayor Graham of Manitou raised his hand first, and he is Teams Meeting 1. So Mayor Graham, go ahead.
Great, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Okay, several things. I was the PPACG representative to Front Range Passenger Rail in 2023, and I guess I've got a few questions or observations. When Mayor Thompson was speaking, she talked about freight trains pulling over on sidings. I remember one of the concerns that was voiced when I was on that board was that in many cases, freight trains are longer than the sidings. Now, this is a violation of the rules, the laws, but the freight companies make up their freight trains as long as they want. And if they can't pull over on the siding, guess who pulls over? It's your passenger train. So that has to be worked out. I don't know if it has. It's been 2 years. My suspicion is it needs to be looked at more closely. Secondly, when I was serving on that, the Northern Front Range Consortium, which was cities like Longmont, Loveland, Boulder, and certainly Boulder County, they had a longer track record than those of us south of Denver have regarding Front Range Passenger Rail. I think the general sentiment was they felt like they'd been paying into the fund for 20 years and had not been getting anything for it. So there was quite a bit of resentment, and the undercurrent was that Colorado north of Denver was going to get rail before anybody else. So they sort of precluded some of the discussion to the south. Shortly after I left that board, there were two things that I thought were very interesting. There were a number of the mountain communities, the ski communities, that presented to the state legislature saying that it would be really great if they could extend the ski trains west from Denver up to those towns. And that was that sort of got piggybacked on the back of Front Range Passenger Rail. And that was a surprise because I don't remember that being talked about. And I had attended all the meetings, the regular board. Also, there was a tax on rental cars that was introduced. It was championed by representatives from Boulder. It was a statewide tax, and the concern was that most of that money was going to go help build railroads for the Northern Front Range Consortium. So there are a few concerns there. I haven't paid attention to it, so things could have changed quite a bit. Certainly when we were discussing it, the idea was to have a commuter rail service moving people from essentially, in the ideal case, from fairly large concentrations of residential properties to Denver and back and forth. And this would be these would be people carrying their lunches and laptops. That was I think the primary emphasis at that time. Being able to get to the Denver airport was talked about. That was a nice idea. Being able to go to a Broncos game without having the parking, that was also an important idea. But certainly the idea of serving people 5 days a week for the commuter work traffic was central to the concept as we were looking at it at the time. So noticing there's been some of these changes, I guess I would be skeptical to give any kind of a rubber stamp without a closer look. Thank you.
Okay, and Mayor Schall from
Can I respond to?
Oh, sure. We'll let you respond to that.
First of all, Mayor Graham, it's good to see you virtually, and I think you brought up a number of valid points, and I'm hoping that during the process of us finalizing the service development plan, our financial plan, our operating plan, that we're going to give a lot of assurances to the constituents of Colorado on the Front Range, so that there is no rubber stamp, but a sense of understanding about what the plan is. And that said, I hope to connect to you soon, and hope to have some further conversations.
Okay, last question is Mayor Shaw. Oh, and then Mayor Thompson. Then we're done.
Yeah, hi, thanks for the opportunity to speak on this. One of the things that I have not heard brought up that is going to be a weighing factor is people that use this rail system, they're going to have transportation to get to the station to use it. And then when they get to their destination, they're going to have transportation from there to wherever they're wanting to go, be it a doctor's appointment, hospital, or a doctor's appointment, or a Bronco game. They're going to have to hire an Uber or a cab or something. And at $15 a ticket just for the rail system, the expense of using it is going to be a heck of a lot higher than any estimate that anybody's put on the table. And it's only going to be benefited to less than 1% of the population. Now, on a business perspective, that spells for a very bad investment that people are, once they start using it and realize the actual expense that they're going to go through just to use it is going to be too high. So I see it as a failed adventure that is going to end up as bad as the one in California, and we're just going to have a dead system there that taxpayers are still going to be paying fees and taxes for. So is there anything that you have to put on the table that can offset that fact?
As far as the California system, I think they made a lot of tragic flaws. For one, they decided to create a new alignment, and they got caught up in a lot of legal battles and costs with trying to take property and move across private property. We've mitigated that risk. We're not going to be taking any property. We're using the right-of-ways of the BNSF and UP. Secondly, they started with a vision of the most expensive possible service, and using the newest, highest speed technology. And what we're using is the heavy rail technology and the heavy conventional rail that already exists. And so we're mitigating our risk by not going after the big pie in the sky vision, but focusing on something that is already existing rail line, and mitigating risks of costs. So, I don't think we're going to go the way, I feel quite certain we're not going to go the way of California Rail. But we are trying to do sort of a simpler, more affordable, and easier to implement system.
Okay, the final question goes to Mayor Thompson.
Oh, just don't limit me to just one.
Okay, let's try
First
to wrap it up
question
here
is,
by
can
10.
we get a copy of your slides, please?
Absolutely.
Okay. Second question is it's $15 one way from Colorado Springs to Denver. If you want to get home, you got to pay another $15, right? If you want to get home, you got to pay another $15.
Yes.
Okay, so it's a $30 round trip from Colorado Springs to Denver. Okay, and then are you planning on doing flexible payments like they've surprised us with some of the managed toll lanes, where they decide to change the price and make it static depending on the amount of traffic on it? Is there any thoughts to, if they're crowded in the morning, making it more expensive or cheaper at a later date, or it's just going to be the same price for everybody no matter what time of day, no matter how crowded it gets?
We have not discussed that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then I've listened in on quite a few of your meetings. And one of the things that keeps coming up in the last recent months on some of the meetings is talking about proof of concept, doing proof of concept between Fort Collins and Denver, and essentially convincing the people that you've paid all this money for 20 years, but we're going to get it right this time. Sorry, the little sarcasm there.
Oh, no, that's fine.
But I'm just real concerned with that, because what is your timeline then from your anticipated proof of concept, and how long you have to watch that work before we would see any type of thing down in this region? Because I think that's important to the voters. If it's going to be 10, 15 years that you're going to work on that proof of concept and make sure it works right before you see anything down here. That's never been mentioned in the meetings, but I was pretty shocked when one of the commissioners said, we got to really convince the people of Fort Collins to keep giving us money that we know we took it and we haven't completed it. And in my book, that's really hard sales job you're going to have up there.
Yeah, so Fort Collins is actually outside of the RTD area. So Fort Collins and Loveland are outside of the RTD area. And it's the communities from Denver northwest where they've been paying in. Westminster, Broomfield, Louisville, Boulder. And so, first of all, I'm from Pueblo.
Right.
And I live in Pueblo.
Right.
And we want to see service in Pueblo. And so that means there has to be service in Colorado Springs. And so as far as time frame in our modeling, if we're projecting that with the starter service, the joint service, to sign an agreement with the BNSF Railway in the next 3 months, start construction in 2026, and have 3 round trips to the Northwest, and this is using RTD's money, by 2029. If we passed a ballot measure district-wide, we are planning to bring starter service to southern Colorado from Pueblo north. And the service development plan, the modeling is starting at Pueblo at 2 trains today, starting Colorado Springs 4 trains a day in 2034. I'm gonna push to get Pueblo up to 4 trains a day too, and ultimately get somewhere close to the 10 round trips a day.
You said 2034.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're going to start collecting the tax in 2027 if it passes.
Mm-hmm.
And the first train, if everything goes right, would be from Pueblo to Colorado Springs in 2034.
For the southern route. For the north, it'd be 2029.
Right. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep.
And then just one last comment. If the Broncos want a special event, then they should pay for it. Anybody that wants a special event stop, that should be outside of this purview, and they should stop for it. And that really kind of flies against your concept of fewer stops to get people where they need to be faster. So
yeah, we expect the Broncos to cover the expenses.
Okay, good.
Well, thank you all very much. Please all feel free to reach out anytime.
Yes, thank you very much, and enjoy flying out of the best airport in the state.
And the prices are great here too.
And the prices are great. So we appreciate you coming.
Thank you.
So just a heads up, we're going to do the consent calendar, and then I'm going to ask for Hannah Parsons to report on the Transportation Committee. So Hannah, if you're listening, hopefully we'll get you there. So the consent items will be acted upon as a whole unless they are called up for discussion by a board member or a citizen wishing to address the board. Is there anyone who wishes to comment on the consent calendar? All right, seeing no comments, I will take a motion to approve.
Mayor Dixon, I'll move to approve the consent items.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. Commissioner Parsons, are you available to talk about transportation? Thank you.
All right. I can't change my camera, so, but you can hear me, I hope.
We can.
Okay, great. Not a lot to update. Just, I think I've mentioned at the last meeting, we had a great field trip and I got to know several of our new commissioners. Since then, probably the biggest thing that everybody's thinking about is the 10-year plan, and I am on the Greenhouse Gas Coordination Committee for the commission. So we had a meeting last week where we're really working through regions 3 and 5 who have their plans coming to the commission for approval soon. And then obviously because of the timing of theirs, the way that ties in with the 10-year plan was a point of discussion. So that's something that's going to be coming to the commission this week, or I'm sorry, next week at this month's meeting. So that's going to take probably a fair amount of the meeting, because as you all know from getting our region's plan updated and approved is quite a process. So that's been the central point of discussion, has been the 10-year plan, and then those GHG plans for regions 3 and 5. So that's really all I have to report today, unless anybody has any questions. Oh, I also wanted to say, sorry, I'm not there in person, but welcome, Sal. I'm really excited that you're joining the Front Range Rail Committee, and I look forward to working with you in that capacity.
Okay. He went off quickly for his trip to the Colorado Springs Airport, but we appreciate the report. Are there any questions? All right. Thank you, Hannah. We appreciate it very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, our next item. So now we're down to action items. Legislative update, Jared Werner.
Good morning, everyone. Relatively quick update, or just one quick request that we're looking for. The legislative committee met, and you got a great, there you go. The legislative committee met last Monday. Among many things they discussed was taking opposition on House Resolution 5465. This is called the Green Streets Act. The Green Streets Act, when expanded out, Generating Resilient, Environmentally Exceptional National Streets Act. The recommendation from staff, and that was adopted by the committee and is looking for board approval today, is taking an opposed position on that bill. What this bill would do would require MPOs specifically, as well as states, but MPOs would have to do additional planning stuff regarding requirement for new capacity projects, environmental justice analysis, as well as some additional stuff very similar to what the state has already required that we do, but it's put at the federal level for MPOs and the statewide organizations as well. To be honest, I don't think this bill is going to advance based on the sponsorship. There's only the original sponsor. If this was a different Congress, I think that would be different. But this is a bill that, if it was to get some legs, would create additional requirements for us with no additional funding to support it. And that's why the opposed position. So happy to take any questions on this particular bill.
Okay, are there any questions?
I'd like to recommend an opposed position.
Okay, we have a motion to oppose. Do we have a?
I'll second.
Okay, and we have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you for keeping track of that. We appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Before Jared leaves, I know we're trying to catch up on schedule, but do you want to mention the legislative roundtable next week, please?
Yep.
Which will have full membership.
Yep, should be on all your calendars, but next Wednesday at 8:30, we've put on the calendar the legislative roundtable with our state delegation. I appreciate all the board members. We've got a terrific board response, and we're getting legislators daily, it feels like, who are coming in as well. But 8:30 to 10 o'clock next Wednesday in this room, depending on how many come, we don't want to run out of food. So make sure you let us know if you're coming, because we don't want anyone to go hungry, me especially. But if you guys have any questions on that, but if it's not on your calendars already, 8:30 right here, a week from today.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, item B is our streetlight data purchase, William Mast.
Good morning, members of the board. My name is William Mast. I manage the GIS and modeling team here at PPACG. And before you is a request seeking approval to use Surface Transportation Block Grant funds to continue a contract that we have established for the region for about 4 years now to the streetlight services. It is a traffic data service, and that license is available to all of our member governments so that staff and any of our member governments jurisdictions could run analysis on traffic patterns, get an idea of trip times, turning movement counts, and things like that. So the TAC and the CAC have reviewed this and both recommended that we continue with that contract, and that's what's before you today.
Question.
Yes.
So if I wanted to get an estimate on how many cars came up the Green Mountain Falls over the summer, over a certain time frame, would this be able to provide that data?
Yeah, absolutely. You can put in specific routes, or you can just designate an area. We call it a zone. Put in, the time of year. So if you just want it weekends or during the weekdays or for months, and however you want to set that up, and then run the analysis. It'll query basically its big data collection of all the connected vehicles that made that trip, and then we'll give you an estimate of that based on the number of vehicles it actually has versus what it would estimate of vehicles, that aren't necessarily connected, right? Smart vehicles, older vehicles, and then give you those results. Yeah.
Okay, so would that be a request through PPACG to do that?
We don't typically run it for member governments, but if you don't have staff, let me know. We can probably help you out. Yeah. The license is open and available really to all of our member governments. So we have staff in everywhere from Manitou Springs running it for to get an idea of how many people show up at the incline and how long they stay. And then they get an idea of how many people went from that parking lot to downtown Manitou Springs to eat after they were at the incline. So traffic patterns like that. So the use cases are pretty wide, right? But yeah, if you don't, Green Mountain Falls, I understand if you guys don't have staff for it, feel free to reach out to me directly. We can put something together. Let me know what you're after, and we can probably get the analysis run and give you those results.
Is there a link to the software?
Yeah, absolutely. I can set you up with a user account, and if you want to, they've got great online tutorials on how to basically do the analysis. It's not terribly complex, and it's all web-based. So all you need to do is have a sign-in for it. And it'll walk you through a bunch of different analysis parameters. Our license has about a dozen different options, depending on what you want to run. And the nice thing is our license is unlimited. So you can play with it to your heart's content and just keep running different queries and analyses. Yeah, absolutely. We can set you up with a license.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, can we have a motion, I guess, to approve this item?
Move to approve. Mayor Thompson.
Mayor Dixon, second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Executive Committee membership and discussion of board bylaws for 2026. Andrew Gunning, Executive Director.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's that time of year where we look at who's interested in being one of the board officers, 5 positions for 2026. So I put out a call last month to see who might be interested. And we've got a list on your screen. We can scroll down just a little bit further. That's the current 2025 members. The folks that expressed interest in one of the board positions for 2026, you have in front of you Commissioner Holly Williams, Commissioner Eric Stone, Councilmember Brandy Williams, Mayor Todd Dixon, and Mayor Sharon Thompson, if necessary, if we needed a 5th. I only did hear back from those 5 with the 5 positions that we have. I know we have a couple of members coming off in the coming months. And I know we have a couple of members that have restrictions as far as if they're working in a school district or so forth, can't always get here for the regular board meeting. So I think that kind of constrained the pool of folks that might be interested or able to actually serve in a board position for 2026. If we scroll down a little bit further, and this is the main action for today, which is setting up a nominating committee that'll come back with a slate of recommended officers, board members in which position. And that includes Mayor Kelly Case, Commissioner Amy Mitchell, and Mayor John Graham. Mayor Sharon Thompson, if she wasn't under consideration for one of the 5 on the executive committee. So it might end up being the 3 members, the first 3 members mentioned there. As far as your nominating committee for this year, their charge will be to come back at the meeting in December with a recommended slate, who's in which position, and then you actually take action on that in January at your regular annual meeting, which, by the way, that's when you'll also consider an appointment to the Front Range Passenger Rail District that we talked about earlier. One thing I did want to raise, because I got a question from a member about being able to serve a second one-year term outside of the chair and treasurer position. You've got specific guidance in the bylaws that call out the chair can serve 2 consecutive one-year terms, board treasurer as well. You'll see the language there that comes out of the bylaws that the term of the board chair and board treasurer shall be limited to 2 consecutive terms. The remaining officers, there's 3 other officers of the board, shall serve for a period of 1 year. And this is where I kind of got tripped up a little bit, but I think it gives you guidance. It says, or until such time as their successors are duly elected and qualified. The language is a little bit awkward the way it's worded there, but I think it gives the board flexibility to appoint those members to a second one-year term if you so choose to do so. And if there aren't any other members that want to serve, say in the first vice chair, second vice chair positions, for instance. So I think that gives you the latitude to do that. So I wanted to bring that up. I don't know if that requires any further consideration of the bylaws change, even though the language is a little bit wonky. I think you can still go with it and just use that as guidance to make those other appointments for a second one-year term as well. The first vice chair, second vice chair, and secretary. So with that, happy to answer any questions.
Go ahead, Mayor Thompson.
I think it reads that way so that if we ever got off, something happened, there was an emergency, and you didn't have a meeting in January, that the officers would just continue until you were able to have the vote in February or March. That's the way I interpret it. So.
Okay. That makes sense.
So then are we okay nominating Eric Stone and Brandy Williams? And okay. All right. So I guess we just have to have one motion here to have Mayor Kelly Case, Commissioner Amy Mitchell, and Mayor John Graham as our nominating committee.
So moved.
Mayor Dixon, second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. And if there is anyone else who's interested in an officer position, please reach out to Andy. It's not too late. So we have always plenty of room to serve in positions. Okay. Our next item is the budget adoption. Carol McBroom.
Hey, good morning, Carol McBroom, PPACG Finance Director. I'm here for 2 reasons. I'm looking for adoption of the fiscal year 26 budget and also the acceptance and approval of the work plan priorities, which I will go over. But first, let's talk about the budget. So just to kind of bring you back to where we were and how we got here. In September, I came to you with a lot of different choices. We talked about different wage pool increases. We talked about member dues. You requested last month that I come back with flat member dues and a 3% wage pool increase. And that is what I have brought today for your review. And so just to kind of go over the budget again, revenues are projected to be 11.1 million. That's decreased by 567,000 from last year. A few things to note is we have pulled FTA 5310 funding out of the AAA program. So when you're looking at that program, it does look like it's reduced by $1 million, but that's why it's just pulled out. The military planning budget decreased by 295,000, and that's due to change of scope. The transportation planning budget is basically flat for fiscal year 26. And again, happy to report that it does include a non-matching grant funds. And then the regional projects decreased by 250,000 because it didn't carry over into fiscal year 26. So again, what I'm proposing is a flat membership dues and a 3% wage increase. And also included in your packet are the expense and revenue breakdown details. I'm not going to go over everything. Happy to answer any questions if something is sticking out and you need more detail. I would like to bring to your attention, we've talked about reserves numerous times over this past year, ever since the air handling system. As of October, our reserves are sitting at 4.51. We're on track to build it back up to the 17%, which is which you have recommended. It will take us a couple, 2 or 3 more years to get there, but we're on track. So really, that's all I have for the budget piece. Open to any questions.
Just a
Commissioner Weishong.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Could you provide, excuse me, a little bit more information on the military planning budget decreased almost 300,000? What was the change in scope?
And do you want to help me on that one?
Sure. We're in the process right now of putting together a grant application to go to DoD when the government opens back up again for a grant period that would start January 2026. We're wrapping up the one that we're currently in, which was good for about 18 months, I want to say. And I think that the mere change was that we're doing fewer consultant contracts in the next round than we were in the current round that we're wrapping up. But a lot of it's driven by, all of it's driven really by what we're hearing from the installations as far as what their needs are. We're working really closely with USAFA, Air Force Academy, and Fort Carson for the grant for 2026, but just quite honestly, less work in the next round from what we're hearing from the installations than what we had in the current round. So that was the main reason for the decrease.
Okay,
I
thank you.
need to add, there were some tweaks to this budget from last month reported to this month. We included the street light, which Will just talked about. There were some decreases also in the budget. The net is 0. So if you're going back and you're comparing last month to this month, there are some difference. And also we're reporting 39 FTEs going into fiscal year 26.
And thank you for mentioning that as well. That is one area that did impact the military program as well. There's just 1 FTE instead of 2 in 2026.
Okay. By the way, this would be an encouragement for everybody to start spending more so we can get our sales tax revenue up, right? Okay. Are there any questions about the budget? Okay, let's go ahead and have a motion to approve the budget.
Mayor Dixon, I'll move to approve the 2026 budget.
Mayor Case, I'll second.
Okay, that's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Thank you so much. Now we have a work plan.
Yeah, great. Thank you on behalf of PPACG employees. Okay, so let's talk about where this money is going to. And so this, every year we report priorities, our work plan priorities. And I'm just going to go over the highlights. I'm not going to sit here and talk about everything for every program. Program directors and managers are here. So if you have any specific programs, I'm going to turn it to them. But so let's start with the AAA program. Their priorities will be a mobility guide, a 4-year area plan. They're going to deal with the carryover funds, and they have some great programs like the Ombudsman program, and they will continue to seek out additional funding and continue with community engagement. So moving on to the transportation program, they're going to complete a regional freight plan. They're going to adopt the fiscal year 2027 to 31 transportation improvement plan. They're going to continue the safety champion and drive smart initiatives, promoting cross-jurisdiction collaboration to reduce crashes and unsafe driving. They're going to maintain compliance with federal regulations, update the public participation plan, Title VI plan, and limited English proficiency plan. And also they're going to help administer the 5310 Federal Transit Administration funding. So moving on to environmental, air quality will continue collaboration with regional partners and the air quality work group. The water quality will continue implementation of the 208 regional water quality management plan. Moving on to the military, we talked about this a little bit. There isn't current funding for the military going into fiscal year 26. Once the government reopens, we will be applying for the grants that have been budgeted for, and the goals for that grant are included in this document. And then moving on into communication, we're going to continue our ongoing work to ensure compliance, engagement, transparency through our website, newsletter, publications, and media relations. And then you're well versed on legislation, but we're going to continue to monitor state and federal bills along with agency lobbyists and communicate that information to you all. And then finally, we have our grant navigator program that we will continue with funding through September of 2026. And hopefully we'll get additional funding to continue it through the rest of the year. But again, there's a lot of information in that document. If you want to know what our programs are up to, that's a great one to look at.
Are there any questions? And this one's also an action item, right? Okay, so I will take a motion to approve the draft work plan.
So moved.
Okay, and a second?
Second.
All right, we're all starting to get tired. That's what happens when you start the meeting at 8. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you for your work on that. We appreciate everybody. Okay, now we're going to go on to our information items, the Complete Streets Toolkit. Jason O'Brien.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm actually just going to give a brief little introduction and then turn it over to our Olson consultants. So just to get us oriented, the Complete Streets Toolkit was developed for 2 reasons. First, help comply with funding requirements for the Federal Infrastructure and Jobs Act. There's some requirements that are met by conducting this plan. Second, to be a resource for member governments who may have goals that are aligned with Complete Streets concepts. This is a completely voluntary resource and guidance document for communities to use at their discretion. So unlike some of PPACG's planning products, it's not a plan and doesn't have a project list or budget. Work on the toolkit began early this year, and we're hoping to have it wrapped up within the calendar year. The toolkit's not an off-the-shelf document. It was done in consultation with all of the PPACG member governments in order to align with their needs and their local context. So what you won't find in the toolkit are blanket recommendations for taking one or another approach, regardless of the local needs or preferences or local public process and so forth. It's a best practices resource guide for those who already have an idea of the direction they want to go, just kind of help them get there. So following this and incorporating any comments we get, the next step will be to get the recommendations of the TAC and CAC and then come back and seek final approval in December. And then just to be clear, we will not be asking the board for the kind of adoption that would make the toolkit into regional policy, but instead for approval of the toolkit just as an acceptable resource for member governments who may choose to use it at their discretion. So with that, I'll turn it over to our lead Olson consultant, Ted Richard.
Thank you. Good morning, Ted Richard with Olson.
And that is why we all carry around thumb drives. I saw that.
All right. Thank you for your time this morning. I do appreciate it. So as Jason said, we've been working on this for some period this year. Let's go again, just talk about why we're doing this. Really, the goal was to compile a toolbox of elements, tactics, policies, and best practices relative to complete streets. For those that are curious, what are complete streets? Complete streets is a approach that integrates people and place into planning and design of transportation networks. The process was responsive to and inclusive of member jurisdictions. Actually, all of the member jurisdictions certainly shape the process and the outcomes. And the goal is to assist local jurisdictions to assess and develop context-specific strategies and projects at their discretion. Next slide. So the process was really a review of current practices and policies across the region. We conducted stakeholder interviews with all the member jurisdictions. We also did extensive research on best practices in similar contexts. Phase 2 was an evaluation of where we should really focus on what would be most useful for member jurisdictions and developed a preliminary tool set. From that, we refined that into a functional toolbox and provided recommendations. Most of this work in phase 1 through 3 was essentially complete in October 2025, which resulted in a draft document. Next slide, please. So we actually talked with all the member agencies within the MPO and the larger COG. We wanted to get a sense of the different context where Complete Streets strategies might be applicable and how. I would say all these agencies were actually very enthusiastic in their response to our request to sit down and interview in a variety of contexts. Many asked for follow-up interviews and discussions, so it was a topic of interest. Mayor Dixon, the town of Green Mountain Falls, was actually one of those members that asked for follow-up conversation. So hopefully the toolbox meets your needs. Next slide. So major elements that are included in the toolbox is what includes the question of why. Why should we consider these types of strategies? What are the potential benefits? The what, we provided multiple links to resources and national guides for Complete Streets features by different travel modes. We also provided roadmaps for policy development, funding strategies, and low or no cost implementation strategies. And then we also addressed the where, because in different places, Complete Streets policies and strategies may look vastly different. So we really wanted to reinforce the context sensitive nature of Complete Street implementation. So last slide, and I'll be wrapping up here, is other toolbox elements that are include a lot of detailed case studies to provide a reference for member jurisdictions, resource links. We also provided a summary of all those stakeholder interviews so you can see what your neighbors are doing. Again, the goal was to approach Complete Streets from a variety of contexts and a variety of scales. And with that, I'll ask if there's any questions.
Are there any questions? Go ahead.
Where can we find the toolbox?
I don't think it's
The
not
link is?
posted yet.
Oh, the toolbox is okay. Should be in the pack.
Yeah, it should be in the
Yeah,
packet.
right now it's in the packet, and then when it is approved, we'll put it onto the website. Okay, so it'll be at ppacg.org.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our next item, information is the CDOT Regional Priorities Program funding. Josh Squires and Danelle Miller.
Good morning, board. Thank you for your time today. My name is Josh Squires, Transportation Planner here at PPACG. CDOT Region 2 has prepared an update to the Regional Priority Funding Program for the region. A spreadsheet and memo is included in your packet, and I'll hand it over to John Hall to answer any questions you may have.
Ugh. I see a lot of negative numbers here, John.
Good morning. Well, everything balances out pretty much, and it's definitely
Okay.
net positive. Adding funds, in certain cases. I just wanted to say the overarching theme here is taking funds from either projects that are no longer in the 10-year plan window or projects that were somewhat generic kind of mobility and safety, and applying those funds to actual projects that are now in the pipeline to be constructed. And then, of course, we're also putting in the plan like 29, 30, 31, 32, putting those into the mix. So after that, I will just, gladly take any questions about any specific lines on there. You might do me a favor if you happen to have it in front of you and you'll notice the numbering goes all the way through to 24, 1 through 24. So if you have that number, that'll help me more quickly answer your questions if you have them.
Wait, are we talking about specific projects? Or, hang on, I may have gone too far.
I was talking about the memo.
I see the memo. Are there any questions? Go ahead, Mayor LeKind.
If there's repair work that needs to be done, that's not part of a major project, how is those funds allocated, and how do you identify them?
Okay, well, generally speaking, our MLOS and our maintenance funds have nothing to do with the regional priority program.
Okay, perfect.
Funding is specific to this. So that's all, however, you will note, I mean, the number one item on the memo is, we are, Shane briefed some months back, but we are trying to set aside some RPP funding, and we even have some programmed here to go to some specific maintenance, maintaining our roadway access, mobility, and safety. So there is a meld in there, but generally speaking, they're apples and oranges.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, everybody could read through this. I see some great projects in here, one in Fountain, one for Highway 105 for Palmer Lake. Several in Fountain and other places. So it looks like it's been well thought through. And of course, the money's not coming as fast as we want it, but that's unfortunately the way it is right now. So go ahead, Commissioner Weissong.
Yes, item 11, fiscal year 30. Could you talk a little bit more about the overpass at Ridge in 2024?
So this is a project that has been on the 10-year plan, but it has been on the 10-year plan as a 27 plus project. With all the funding constraints, I mean, this project has been, the resources originally identified for this project were used to help us get Fillmore to Garden of the Gods and Powers and Airport in particular that were over budget. So those 10-year program funds were reallocated to those projects that are under construction right now. The project stays on the 10-year capital list, but we do not have sufficient funding to get it into construction. So what you have here is some RPP funds and some other funds. We're really hoping to just continue to progress that design, have it, if you will, shelf ready. And of course, it is raising the project scope is to raise US 24 over Ridge Road, not an interchange, but to get that grade separation for much better access into the park, things like that.
Thank you.
I don't know if Ridge Road was on the Pikes Peak RTA list, but those are some of the things when we compare our ballot issue with Pikes Peak RTA. It's kind of almost a shell game. You take the shell here, and you put them together, and you might get a full project. So I can't remember if Ridge Road was on the Pikes Peak RTA list, but we'll have to check that out. Okay, this is information only. We will look at this again next month. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Our next item is the 2027 to 2031 TIP improvement, the Transportation Improvement Program. And Josh is still talking about this one.
Yes, we are currently working on developing the fiscal year 27 through 31 Transportation Improvement Program. The updated revenue forecasts show that Carbon Reduction Program and STB Metro are currently over-programmed through fiscal year 2029. Staff will be working with the TAC to reconcile these funding programs to maintain fiscal constraint with our TIP. This will be a TAC-led discussion and recommendation process. At the same time, we do have a surplus in the Transportation Alternatives Program, and those funds will be awarded through the current call for projects that is currently open. The call for projects does not include the MMOF funding currently, since we do not have a updated funding forecast for that program, or if it will ever come. If funding becomes available later, then it will be programmed through a separate process. I also want to note that the transit funding included in the TIP is included in the TIP, but is not awarded through the same competitive process. So 5307 and 5339 funds go directly to MMT, and PPACG is the direct recipient of the section of 5310 funding, which is awarded through a separate competitive process for specified transportation providers. For other TIP updates, staff held a pre-application workshop on November 3rd. The call for projects is currently open, and final applications for projects are due to PPACG on December 19th. After scoring and project selection workshop, after that date, we'll be holding a project selection workshop with the TAC. We expect to bring the draft fiscal year, my apologies, 27 through 31 tip to the board in early 2026, followed by public comments and final approval. This item's information only, and I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have.
Yes, Mayor Stern.
On the tip allocations and forecast summary, there's a lot of negative numbers.
Yeah.
Can you inform me what I'm looking at?
Yeah, so we are over-programmed in carbon reduction and surface and STB Metro, which is your surface transportation program. The state gives us estimates for our out years of the tip, and so 28, 29, and we went off those estimates. They came back and reconciled those numbers, so now we just have to, so we were over-programmed based on the estimates that they originally gave.
So does that mean that you will have that much less money to work with?
No, we're looking at moving that around. It's all up to the TAC, of course. They make those decisions. And we are planning on using some of the transportation alternatives program surplus that we have to fund the gaps for carbon reduction and STB Metro.
Okay, see, John Hall, this is the one I saw the negative numbers on and worried. So, any other questions? All right. Well, good luck on looking at those projects. Always fun. And remember that deadline to apply for money is December 19th.
Yes.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. We have a notice of funding availability. Lisa.
Hello, everyone. Lisa Gagnon, Transit Planner here at PPACG. Thank you so much for your time. I'm here to discuss the FTA, the Federal Transit Administration 5310's Notice of Funding Availability. Ooh. So program description, this funding is to enhance mobility for older adults and with individuals with disabilities. And this is aimed to close the gaps and improve mobility between the already current service. So fill in the gaps between the paratransit service. So that is the service that is a 3/4 mile from a fixed route. So expanding the service area, increase time, and for a door-through-door service. We are here at PPACG, the direct recipient, and then we give it to our sub-recipients. And this funding is only for the Colorado Springs urbanized area. And then the funding is from January 1st to December 31st of 2026. The funding availability is just over 620,000. This number is subject to change. I am having a meeting with our representative from the FTA later today, and this number will be finalized. But right now it is subject to change. So the application process and deadline on the NOFA, the Notice of Funding Availability, was released on October 7th. The applications were due November 4th. It is currently closed. And then the award notification and contract execution will be December of this year in 2025. So how does this process work? First, the applications were opened and we got 3 submittals. And then the PPACG staff were reviewing the applications. After that, a technical review subcommittee was created. We are going through the process right now of the subcommittee of reviewing the applications and scoring the process, or scoring the applications. And then the findings of the scoring will be presented to the TAC and CAC as information item, and then also they will approve it. And then after that, any applicants can contest in writing to me. And then after that, it will be coming to the board after the public comment period, the TAC and CAC approval, and you guys will approve the final scoring. Currently, like I said, the application is closed. The NOFA was posted online and in the website. The technical review subcommittee is currently underway. They're scoring. We had one meeting and the next meeting is later this week. And then we'll be meeting with the TAC and CAC later this month for their approval. Awesome. Any questions for me?
Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Weissong.
You said something, and maybe I misheard, but you said it's going to go to the TAC and CAC for info, and then you mentioned that they have to approve it. How can you approve an informational only, or is it just a kind of?
Yep, I think I misspoke. It already went for information, and then later this month it'll go for an action item as for them to approve it before it comes back to the board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor Thompson.
I hate to say it, but $620,000 isn't a lot of money, and that sounds terrible, but because it is a lot of money, but in that world, it's not a lot of money. Gail's nodding her head, yes. You said 3 applicants?
Yes, we currently have 3 applicants.
And it's closed?
The application is closed, yes.
Okay, so are the requests going to be made to fit that? I mean, sometimes they come in way over, and can you.
Yep, that is a really great point. And I think that is the struggles that a lot of these service providers have been facing since the dawn of time. We are, in a part of the committee, is looking at each person's request and trying to fulfill it as best we can. We are very limited of what the FTA will give us for the money.
So, I mean, you have requests for more than that money?
We certainly do have the request for more than that money, yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Madam Chair, if I could just add to that just real briefly, Lisa, it's a really good question and a good point. And we keep hearing that from our service providers that there are more denied rides now than in the past. I don't know that they have the capacity to build wait lists, but there's a lot more demand out there than the revenue we're getting. We do augment this as well with AAA funding, and we get a little bit of PPRTA money through the city of Colorado Springs that manages the transit fund on behalf of the PPRTA, but it is not enough to go around, and we're seeing denied rides increase. Gail Nels is here with NVIDIA. I don't know if you want to hear from Gail briefly. She can speak to this. Yep.
So Gail Nels, CEO of NVIDIA Transportation and Home Care. So we did submit, I think we're one of the 3, yes. And but we are always short of funds. There is great demand. It keeps increasing, as well as our expenses. We are concerned about how we meet that and the expectations of our community. NVIDIA is considering charging a fee for that 5310 because there is a match on those dollars, but that actually requires us to buy more software so we can make that easier to transact and administrate and have audits well done and compliance. So we are considering all these things. I am in conversation with Silver Key and Jason DeBueno about, what do we do with these 5310s to help extend them further. But NVIDIA just, enwraps these 5310 elderly, blind, and disabled transportation around some funding from Medicaid that does non-medical transportation for people with developmental disabilities as well. So we try to use these 5310 funds to expand what the federal funds are, or the state funds from Medicaid, to support more people. But this is an issue for us, and we appreciate the difficulty in the decisions being made and how we support our community. Thank you.
Gail, just to clarify, 53T funds, being able to use 5310 funds depends on where the ride originates. Yes. So for example, if a ride originates in the city of Fountain, it might not qualify to use 5310 funds, but if the ride originates in Colorado Springs, it could. And that's where it gets very confusing in your world, trying to figure out which funds rides are going to be used for.
I will say my staff is very sophisticated in understanding what they call polygons and these boundaries of UZAs, 5310, AAAs. I mean, it's a puzzle, and I appreciate the dedication of my staff to make sure we can make it all work.
Thank you. Is there any other questions?
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Under other reports and minutes. See, I knew we'd get back on time eventually. The Transportation Advisory Committee minutes are included. The CAC, the minutes are included in your packet. The Mobility Coordinating Committee did not meet. And then The Regional Advisory Council minutes are included. The Commission on Aging minutes are including air quality technical committee, no minutes, and the Water Quality Management Committee did not meet as well. We had the CDOT update. As far as the stack update, we did meet in person. Jared was up there with me to step on my toe if I said anything wrong. We went through the budget with Jeff Sudemeyer, which is always amazing to me how anyone can understand CDOT's budget. So thank you to Jeff Sudemeyer for trying to make it make sense to us. We talked about the I-270 project overview. This was yet again another frustrating point where we probably could use 10 lanes, and we're only talking about 6 lanes, one of them being an express lane, but they did have some major accidents there, and that is going to need to be upgraded. Talked about the work program development for STAC, the rural planning assistance allocation, which John and Andy know about. The Central Front Range gets $12,000 to help with your planning assistance. So that helps. Central Front Range is everybody that's not Woodland Park or Colorado Springs and Falcon. So, and Fountain. Fountain is in the MPO. Sorry, I said Falcon area because that's how far we go out. And then we talked about our draft 10-year plan overview. Most interestingly, under the other items, yes, there is some frustration I mentioned earlier on the stack that we are just an advisory committee. And so we don't necessarily feel like we're doing anything. And there was an interest in, especially from the rural transportation planning regions, to try and get more involved in legislation. That cannot be done through CDOT because the CDOT legislative employees are employees of the governor. They are hired to push the governor's agenda, not the STAC's agenda. And so we just want to really thank Jared and our legislative committee here because we have that option. I can't volunteer PPACG services, but we had a good, healthy discussion about that. I don't know how that could be addressed at any point in time. I was thinking about the Texas Transportation Institute, which is something we heard. We also had a moment to give a shout out for our congressional trip back to DC, where we met with Congressman Jeff Hurd. So we talked about the surface transportation reauthorization and how everybody needed to be reaching out to Congressman Jeff Hurd because he serves on the Transportation Committee, and encouraging him to support getting Colorado up to an equal federal funding level with Pennsylvania and other states that have lost congressional districts where we've gained congressional districts. And that was about it. I don't think that we did anything else. That I just know there is a sense that we're just an advisory committee, and sometimes I feel like we're just something for CDOT staff to have to plan for as well. And so there was still some frustration on that, but we keep working and trying to figure out the best way to handle that and be effective. So are there any questions on that report? Okay. Next item is our committee and commission vacancies, and then our executive director's report. So if you see that your town has a vacancy, let's try to get it announced and get out there and get some people to serve on these committees. And our executive director's report. Andy.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple of items real quick. First of all, November is National Family Caregivers Awareness Month. So thank you to all the caregivers out there that are taking care of seniors, people with disabilities in their household and their neighborhood and so forth. Thank them for what they do and try to give them a break if you can. But it's National Caregivers Awareness Month. Shifting gears to a transportation item, once every 4 years, we have the Federal Highway Administration, Federal Transit Administration, and CDOT do a 4-year review of all of our programs and our finances and making sure we're meeting all the federal and state requirements, primarily federal requirements. We just had a review on October 30th, so just a couple of weeks ago. Went really well. It's a big deal. with our staff, pulling together all the material that's needed, answering questions all day, and just had a really, really good session. We'll get a follow-up report here at some point in the very near future. Commissioner Mitchell, shifting gears a little bit, mentioned this already. I think earlier that a bunch of us went up to Park County and met with Park County, Town of Alma, Town of Fairplay, and a handful of other folks a couple of weeks ago. Had a great visit. Went up with John Leosados, Jody Barker, AAA Director, Jared, and Karen Rowe, our grant navigator. Just a great conversation, and thank you, Commissioner, for helping to set that up, and just want to keep some good conversations going that kind of open the door for where we can help on various different projects. Another item, got two left. I think I sent out a note on this last week, but there's a water quality workshop that's going to be hosted by the Fountain Creek Watershed District, going to be held in the city of Fountain. City Hall coming up on Friday, November 21st between 9 and 11 a.m. It's going to focus on the status of what we know about E. coli within the Fountain Creek watershed. You'll recall a couple of months ago at a board meeting, we had a really good conversation about what is the data showing, what do we know about contamination rates and things like that. So this will be a really good session for folks that are interested to really kind of dig into that, and look forward to Ali and her team coordinating that conversation with the Fountain Creek District. But again, that's on Friday, November 21st from 9 to 11 a.m. at the Fountain City Hall. And finally, just want to mention, we're doing a special fundraiser event next week, primarily with staff, but also want to put the call out if board members are interested in attending as well. Our military planning program manager, Paul Rochette, stepped up and offered to cook lunch for staff and our volunteers. Basically on his dime, no expense to folks coming to lunch, but the expectation is that you're going to make a donation that is then going to go to Care and Share Food Bank. Given the just acute needs that we have across the community, a lot of demand for food needs for folks that are in need out there today. We thought this is one good way for us to kind of help make a little bit of a difference, make a dent in that need. So that's going to be same day as our legislative forum on November 19th, starting at 11:30, going to 2 o'clock. We've got kind of limited headroom, so I'll send out some additional details on this, but if anybody's interested on the board, would love to have you guys join us. So just wanted to let you know about that. And I think that's all I've got. Thank you.
I take it Paul must be a good cook.
Paul's a very good cook. So ribs, chicken, he's amazing. He can handle a certain number. So yeah, looking forward to a really good event that day.
All right. And I did not mean to skip over CDOT. Our favorite slide of the month. Come on up, John.
Thanks for having me again. Yes, there's really not a lot changed. I mean, we're in the time of year where projects are wrapping up or going into a slower winter mode. So Powers and Airport interchange, Fillmore to Garden of the Gods, just continuing through the winter. The 115 resurfacing, basically I-25 Nevada here south. Nelson to Brookside is all wrapped up on paving. Might be there's some minor striping and stuff. The U67D project, as I briefed last month, we're working towards and doing the final wrap-ups on a winter shutdown on that project. And the active striping projects are wrapping up as well. If you know, I can certainly read through some of the planned PPACG projects of note. Really, nothing too exciting though. None of those projects have advertised quite yet for 2026, and then of course the 2027 projects are for next year. So, if you'd like to jump to the next slide. Central Front Range. Here we have a few more projects wrapping up. US 24 resurfacing there just west of Woodland Park, and 285 up by Bailey. Pavings are complete on those, just some final striping. It is possible some of that striping activity continues into the spring when the weather's warmer to put our permanent striping down. Timber Bridges project is all wrapped up as well. And again, some signing and striping stuff that's pretty well wrapped up as well. The Fremont County culvert lining and repairs, that is a project that was successfully advertised, along with 69 resurfacing south of Texas Creek and 24G east of town. passing lane also there through, from Peyton through Calhan. Those projects just successfully advertised 69 and the 24G. So we're looking forward to having those under construction next year. The 115 concrete preventive maintenance will not advertise for a couple months still.
Mr. Wesson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Going back to slide, the wildlife fence, North Gate to 105. What has been the animal impact in that stretch?
Well, I don't have any exact numbers for you, but I can tell you that it's a very competitive in terms of the bad side of crashes due to animals in that area, even competitive with the other hotspot in the region, which is down by the border with New Mexico. So it really this is the largest area, especially along I-25 interstate for issues with animal crashes. So what we're doing right now is actually looking to the assistance of Region 1 in the Denver area with that wildlife overpass on I-25 could potentially provide us with a significant amount of funding to actually do the work to install some of this wildlife fencing up potentially as far south as Northgate.
Will that now, with that fencing, if it goes in, are you creating a further south potential conflict? Because you're trying to minimize kind of that long stretch, and it doesn't go all the way up to County Line Road and force them to go over the new wildlife overpass. Are we to now concentrate more crossings south of Northgate?
I may not have understood you correctly, but obviously we can't exactly sign the animals to go the exact direction we want them to go, but there are wildlife crossings. There is one within the town of Monument, basically limits there, just south of County Line Road under I-25. We have another one just north of County Line Road that's under I-25 that was built with the GAP project. We have now this wildlife overpass. So certainly at least hopefully 50% of the animals, will decide to take the northern route, that more open route, and will be funneled into those. There's no doubt though that everywhere it terminates, there you do have the potential to have some, the animals go towards that area. So certainly we're going to be looking. I mean, when I just mentioned that Region 1 could be funding this, that allows us to potentially use the money that we were going to now look at, through the Air Force Academy grounds, things like that, potentially building some actual wildlife crossing structures too, to help even improve even more that idea of keeping the animals within that range of the wildlife fence and crossing the highway, in those areas, as opposed to just going to the end. Hopefully I answered that successfully.
I believe you did. Thank you.
Can you do a traffic count on the new wildlife bridge when it
I
opens up?
Well, I'm pretty confident that there will be some sort of, if you will, a count of how much
That is a
monitoring of animals.
huge bridge.
A lot of these most of these wildlife crossings, do have game cameras and different things like that. We are using them to track the different animals going, utilizing them.
Councilmember Donaldson.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Chair. And just over the last week, my wife and I drove up to Montana and then back down here, and I was surprised how many overpasses, like animal overpasses, they have in Wyoming and then southern Montana. So it's not as rare as I thought for those to be there. Lots of fencing along the way, even on some of the smaller roads. So I think it's the way of the future. Just thought I'd put that out there. And also one suggestion, perhaps we could issue citations for the animals that don't cross at the proper point, maybe raise some revenue that way. Just a thought.
I will put that top on my priority list.
Okay, any more questions? We always appreciate this comprehensive list. Thank you very much for your hard work.
Thank you.
Okay, member entity announcements. I will start off. I know that we had, and I meant to bring this slide, but I will bring it 1 month for our Drive Smart committee. We had the coroner's report at El Paso County. I know she also gives to the city of Colorado Springs. The number of accidents for driving exceeded the number of accidents related to fentanyl. So it was pretty serious, and we had a pretty healthy discussion about that. But I think it's worthy for the Drive Smart committee to know that we're getting more aggressive. So that's my only member entity announcement. Let's go around. We have some elections. We're losing some people next month too. But not you.
Not yet.
Not Mayor Case.
Not till April. Just wanted to share, we had some pretty exciting stuff happen in Woodland Park, some legacy stuff actually. We actually last month closed on the purchase of Shining Mountain Golf Course in Woodland Park, and owning that as a city course, that came, the price we paid for that was less than the cost by about $2 million than the cost of the water rights that we received in that purchase. So we not only we got a golf course, we got an event center, we got a driving range, 3 disc golf courses, and 145 acres of open space that was slated to be developed that now will not be developed. And we are going to master plan that and do a business plan and really develop that to open space and different recreational opportunities. So big deal. We've only had one person that complained, which is highly unusual. I'm sure you all experience the same thing that we do. So that was a real positive thing. On top of last year, we also purchased 120 acres up off Kings Crown on the hillside above between Cristola and I'll say Walgreens. That hillside of open space up there as well, which contains hiking trails, and we are mitigating that for fire. And we're going to be developing some further hiking trails, just waiting on access for 300 feet from the parking lot to the open space from the Forest Service. And that's an ongoing thing for some reason. So anyway, just wanted to share those exciting things for the city of Woodland Park and Teller County. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Donaldson.
Yep, thank you, Madam Chair. And Colorado Springs, council did pass our budget. We voted the first time on Tuesday, and then I guess it was Monday, because Tuesday we were closed. So Monday, 2 weeks from now, we'll vote a second time on that, but that went through. There was a great Veterans Day parade on Saturday downtown, and really is a good event. We had flyovers from some of the aircraft that are out at the National World War II Aviation Museum, and we had a couple of World War II veterans in the parade. And even though the military wasn't there, the active duty military, there were plenty of veterans and other organizations to show their respect. And then on just yesterday, actual Veterans Day, there was a ceremony down at Memorial Park, and others. There was a small event at Evergreen Cemetery for Floyd Lindstrom, who won the Medal of Honor in World War II. So lots of good stuff as far as Veterans Day, and we got our budget passed.
Mayor Stern.
So Palmer Lake has the largest lighted star on a side of a mountain in the world. It was first built in 1934, and the annual star lighting happens Thanksgiving, and so that'll be coming up here on Thanksgiving Day. And then, getting into the Christmas season, we have the Yule log hunt and the chili suppers, and then in January there will be something that's been quite successful, and that is the hockey classic that it takes place on Palmer Lake. And we've had some of the local high school teams and so forth compete. It's been very successful.
And hopefully we'll get cold enough.
Well, we generally do in January, but we'll see.
Okay.
It's been a really
Getting close.
warm, wonderful fall.
Okay, Mayor Dixon.
So my wife Nancy was looking at some media casts and saw one where they're anticipating robots being available within about 5 years, which probably means about 10. But one of the things that came to mind was potentially having robotics help keep people in their homes longer, you know, to where they could do laundry, where they could do cleaning, meals, medication dispensing. And to me, I would have loved to have had robotics available for my parents because we could have kept them in their home longer. And so I just kind of wanted to plant that seed.
Okay, Mayor LaKind.
Okay, so last month, because we're in November, Monument approved to submit to the state our first economic development incentive package with the help of the EDC for a manufacturing company that will bring about 140 jobs to the town that will pay between 75 and 90,000 a year. State still has to approve it, and then of course the company has to accept it. We were down selected, and we're up against Peoria, Arizona, which is quite a bit larger than Monument. And I guess between the two, we knocked Boise off the table. So good news there. Also approved a PUD, which is going to bring a large retail box store to northern El Paso County. It may or may not look like a bullseye. No moose. I'm not even sure what your moose is referencing, but we will have a balanced budget, although we will be using a portion of our reserves to get there. We had quite a bad year from a tax revenue perspective, a sales tax revenue perspective. On the good news, though, more good news is on December 6th, we will have the annual tree lighting, which was funded by the town's employees. They're doing all the work versus outsourcing it. So if you've never been, all of Limbach Park will be well lit for Christmas.
Mayor Thompson.
Okay, fountain elections are over. Woohoo! And we have a new member at large that will be sworn in on December the 9th. Also that night, we will be choosing from the applicants to replace someone who recently resigned from council. And so if you really want to be on Fountain Council, the applications are due today. You still have time to run down to City Hall, grab one, get your 25 signatures and turn it in if you really want to do it. They're due today at 5. So, then our tree lighting is November 21st. And it will be lit by the winner of a coloring contest. So if you're kindergarten through grade 12 in the city of Fountain, go on our website, download the coloring page, turn it in. You might have a chance to push the easy button on the 21st and light up City Hall.
Commissioner Weissong.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Last week at our Board of Commissioners meeting, we celebrated with a proclamation the Marine's 250th birthday. Rousing success. We had a little bit of a interlude from gaveling out for photos, played the Marine Corps hymn, and what did these jarheads do? Excuse me, Marines do. They broke into song, which was very unexpected but very very cool. And they had the Marine Ball last Saturday, and they were looking at 550 people that were going to be attending that. So it was, I think, a really successful program. This next Tuesday, we've got another, what I'm going to call a great event. It's really going to be outside of the Board of Commissioners meeting. We'll make note of it, but you may or may not know anything about the Honor Bell. Colorado is unique in the sense that the Fort Logan Cemetery has a 1,000-pound plus bell that they use for funerals and other events. And Pikes Peak National Cemetery now has their own bell. So it's only 2 in the nation. And on Monday, November 17th, Mount Carmel will be dedicating the bell at 2 p.m. And on then Tuesday, the 18th, after we gavel out of the BOCC meeting, we will be doing our own dedication for El Paso County. And there'll be 7 veterans that are county employees that will be tolling the bell as part of the ceremony. Very kind of unique program that we'll have in the sense that there's only 2 of these bells in the country. And one of these unique things is they usually gather, from 10 to 15 people, articles that will be cast into the bronze bell. Our bell will have a piece of the USS Arizona in it. More on that Tuesday if you want to attend. Thank you.
Commissioner Applegate.
Thank you, Chair. Yesterday I attended some Veterans Day or the Veterans Day event in Fountain. And so a big shout out to Fountain Up, the American Legion in Fountain, the VFW, they all coordinated and put together a really good event. And it was just good to see the community come out and just get a nice lunch and talk to some veterans and just thank them for their service. I mean, it was so really rather good. And I guess on that note, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. So.
And Jeff Mosher.
Yeah, so Cripple Creek's got a lot of success going on right now. We had a tremendous turnout for our Toys for Tots, I'm jumping ahead there. Trunk or Treat. Our Trunk or Treat event drew 350 kids, which obviously weren't all from Cripple Creek. You don't have that many kids, but we do draw out of Hartselle and Guffey and other areas that can't quite get to other places. So that was a success. Another talking Drive Smart. They hooked us up with Drive Safe. The school has just announced that they're going to do a driver's ed program in the next semester. So the second half of the school year, which is great for our students to be able to access driver's ed without having to come down to Colorado Springs. So that's great for us. Our tree lighting ceremony and Christmas parade are on December 13th. It is a day parade, so it is a little warmer. So come on up. We've got all kinds of activities. The chorale comes up from Colorado Springs and sings at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon at the Baptist Church. They've been doing that for decades. So we invite everybody to come up and enjoy Christmas in Cripple Creek. And that's about my 2 cents.
All right. We're going to start with, I guess we'll go from the top. Commissioner Mitchell. Anything in Park County?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't need to repeat all the great events that happened for Veterans Day, and we thank all veterans for their service. We are just preparing for snow that is supposed to be coming soon. So everybody just be safe out there when you're coming through Park County to go skiing in a nearby county. Thank you very much.
All right, Councilmember Williams.
Good morning, and thank you, Councilmember Donaldson, for covering, our November events. Just a reminder, the Festival of Lights Parade is going to be December 6th in Colorado Springs. And there's a lot of fun events. There's the electric safari at the zoo and just things going on downtown. So a little plug for sales tax. Maybe with the government reopening, we can get some people out spending and celebrating and making a brighter 2026. And of course, thank you to all of our veterans. And thank you for all of those who are serving and have served. And we appreciate it because that's how we're able to have these wonderful conversations in a safe environment. So, and happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Okay, Councilmember Gold.
Nothing significant to report over here.
Okay, Councilmember Chronic with Monument. Anything to add? She's listening intently. Councilmember Rainey. By the way, Councilmember Rainey had a very good op-ed in the newspaper today. Mayor Graham.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Let's see. So Christmas season, we'll have our Festival of Lights follow-on parade on Sunday, December the 7th. It'll be at 5 o'clock, so it'll be the day after the parade in Colorado Springs. That following Saturday, December the 13th, we'll have Breakfast with Santa, sponsored by the Manitou Springs Kiwanis Club at City Hall. That'll be from 8 to 10:15. So families can come down, have breakfast, and meet Santa Claus, and there'll be some activities for the kids to keep them busy. Let's see. We had an election last week. We have a new mayor and 3 new city council people. I'll be term limited. Our current mayor pro tem was elected mayor, and I think you'll like working with her. She's been around the town for a long time, has a lot of connections. So hopefully she'll be available to be introduced at our meeting next month. Other than that, it's all been sweetness and light. Thank you.
And Mayor Shaw.
All I really got to put on the table is we have our annual Christmas dinner coming up here, second weekend of December. And if anybody would like to come out, we have Santa Claus expected to be there for the little ones running around. It's annually a pretty big event for the town. The town council likes to put it on for the locals and stuff, but I believe just about anybody that wants to participate is welcome to come out. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to wrap it up with one more announcement.
Madam Chair, could I have one element?
Yeah.
And this one is it's on behalf of the Colorado Springs Airport, and Colorado Springs Airport competes with Denver International, and personally, I find it to be a much nicer experience to fly out of our airport. The parking is right there. They're going to have reduced rate parking for the holidays. And we want to bring even more flights, direct flights to places in the United States and even international flights. But to do that, we have to show these airlines that our usage is increasing and that people aren't going up to Denver and just flying out because they can get it for $20 less or something. Because when you factor in the fear factor of driving to Denver and are you going to make it on time? And is your car going to be there when you come back from your trip? Because there's stealing of cars in the parking lots. This is a great place to fly from, and we want that to grow. We don't want airlines to leave Colorado Springs. We want more to come here and have better service for the whole region. A lot of people from Pueblo and other areas, the other counties here, Park and Teller, fly out of the Springs. So that's my sales pitch. Please encourage your folks to fly out of Colorado Springs, and it will just get better and better. Thanks.
Yeah, and I have 2 things. My husband had to fly out of Denver, and I swear that evil Bronco horse attacked me. It's grown so much at nighttime you can't see where you're going. And the last thing is I was going to miss this morning, unfortunately, because of the federal government shutdown. I will announce very happily that we will have a new citizen in our family on December 4th. My daughter-in-law passed her citizenship test, so I get to go up and watch her get sworn in. I cannot wait. I've already got 3 boxes of Kleenexes in the car, so I can cry all the way through it. And I'm really excited for that. So, and we have a copy of the citizenship test. If anyone wants testing next month, I'll bring it along. It's interesting. So that is it. Unless there are any further announcements, we will be adjourned. Thank you.